The announcement numerous Ohio State football fans have been waiting for was made just a day ago. Ohio State quarterback CJ Stroud has declared for the 2023 NFL Draft.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Buckeye fans? Welcome back to another episode of Locked On Buckeyes for the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, also the host of the Jay Stevens Podcast. It is Tuesday, January 17th in the year 2023, and I want to thank you for making Locked On Buckeyes your first listen or first watch of every single day. During this episode, we will discuss if CJ Stroud exceeded expectations as Ohio State's starting quarterback over the past two seasons. And we say our final thank yous and goodbye to CJ Stroud, as he will not be wearing a Buckeye uniform anymore. But before we get to any of that, the announcement, you have been waiting for it. I've been waiting for it. We all have been waiting for the announcement from CJ Stroud to announce what he'll be doing in 2023. Would he be playing football at Ohio State, or would he take his talents to the National Football League? He ultimately chose the latter and declared for the 2023 NFL Draft. This was something that I thought was always going to happen. Now, I did understand there was a chance for CJ Stroud to stay in school. The money's there. He's going to make millions of dollars as Ohio State's quarterback if he's there for a third year via NIL and endorsement deals. That's the reality. That's not a guess. That is the reality. So he's going to have the money there. He's going to have a chance to play in front of 100,000 fans every time he's in the shoe. He's going to have a chance to beat his rival for the very first time. He's going to have a chance to play in the playoff, a chance to win the Natty. Those things are true. He's going to have a chance to be coached by Corey Dennis and Ryan Day for another year with a new offensive coordinator in Brian Hartline. Those things are also true. At the same time, being able to make $3, maybe $4 million, I don't know if that's exactly the numbers that could be there, but if you're at Ohio State one more year, there'll be a lot of local businesses and national businesses, commercials, things like that will take advantage of you being QB1 at Ohio State for 3 years in a row. So I understand the financials. I understand the class. I understand all the things about him staying at Ohio State. But then there's that chance of you making millions. Like, not trying to, say $4 million is not a lot of money. But if you could have a $10, $15 million signing bonus as a part of your rookie deal and make more than that, double or triple of what that going to the NFL, what if his signing bonus is $20 million? Doesn't it make sense for him to go? CJ Stroud, a 2-year starter. I never suggest somebody leave after being a 1-year starter at a school unless it's your last year of eligibility. 2-year starter at Ohio State. 111 wins every single season he started as a quarterback. A Rose Bowl winner. He won almost won the Peach Bowl. Very, very close to winning the Peach Bowl. Lost by 1 point. Made the playoff. He's done so many things. Yeah, there's more to be done as he could still be a quarterback, but at some point, just go get the money. Just be honest with you. Go get the money. Go get the professionals nutritionist. Go get professional massage therapist and professionals in every other area. And also, here's the reality. He don't have to take any more classes. Because if he's at Ohio State, if you're in college playing football, you have to take classes. If you're the quarterback, if you're playing any sport, you got to take classes to play. That's the reality. So I know, you can make $3-4 million at Ohio State. You can make $20 million, possibly $20 million signing bonus in the NFL, being a top 4, top 5 pick. All those numbers are there. But at some point, man, you just got to say, look, my time here is done. I got to move on. I'm happy for CJ Stroud. I am completely happy for what Stroud did at Ohio State. We're going to go over some numbers in the very next segment. We're discussing if he exceeded expectations. And there's an argument for both sides. Yes, he did, or yes, he did not, or no, he did not. But think about this, though. I'm going to say this now, leading into the very next segment. It's kind of a precursor, an appetizer for you to get your ears thinking about what Stroud did as QB1 at Ohio State. 2018, Dwayne Haskins. New coach comes in 2019. Urban Meyer leaves after 2018. New quarterback transfers to Ohio State in Justin Fields. Fields wins the quarterback battle. He's QB1 in 2019 and 2020. Another QB battle that Ryan Day has to facilitate once again. This time, it is CJ Stroud who wins that battle. He's clear-cut, like, ain't no questions asked in fall camp. But then Stroud kind of struggled a little bit, figured things out, and there is no question in my mind Stroud is the starting quarterback. It should have been. Last year after game 3 or game 4, people were wondering if Stroud should be QB1. Ultimately, he should have been. He won that battle. And I do think what CJ Stroud did at Ohio State is something we will be talking about for years and years and years to come. One of my favorite quarterbacks at Ohio State is Troy Smith. Another one, Terrell Pryor. There's an argument to be made that Stroud is better than them in both of them. I know for a fact he's better than Terrell Pryor. Is he better than a Heisman Trophy winner in Troy Smith? Different offense, different time period of the football. But I do think when it comes to stacking up against names like Troy Smith, Terrell Pryor, Braxton Miller, Dwayne Haskins, JT Barrett, Justin Fields. Stroud's in the conversation of being one of the better quarterbacks at a school, and it's tough to follow Justin Fields. It was tough for Fields to follow Haskins. It was tough for Haskins to follow Barrett. It's tough to be a quarterback at Ohio State during this time period because from Braxton Miller till now, the standard keeps going up and up and up and up and up. And CJ Stroud kept the standard high while he was on the field. You might not agree with everything he did, and no, he did not win every single game. But those quarterbacks I just mentioned, they didn't win every game either. I'm happy for Stroud making this decision, and I ultimately believe him making it when he did is perfect, man. Allow your teammates and Paris Johnson Jr. and DeJuan Jones and Luke Whippler and some other guys, not Lathan Ransom, he's staying in school. Ronnie Hickman, allow them to get their time making their announcement to get to get appreciated. Let them do that. And ultimately, Stroud, waiting till the last minute, I see nothing wrong with that. Stroud has declared for the NFL draft. But did he exceed expectations of being Ohio State's quarterback over the past couple of years? We will discuss that next right here on Locked on Buckeyes. This episode is brought to you by Built Bar. Looking for a delicious treat, but don't want all of the fat and calories? Then you got to try a Built Bar. We just got through the holidays, and I know my goal is to eat a little healthier this year. If you're like me, where you want to eat healthier but don't want to compromise taste, then man, I've got just the thing for you. You got to try Built. With Built, healthy is actually tasty. What makes Built Bar so good? Well, for starters, they are all covered in 100% real chocolate, and they come in unbelievable flavors like churro, peanut butter brownie, and coconut almond. I'm not sure how Built does it, but these bars taste like a candy bar while maintaining amazing macros. And now you don't need to wait around to get a box. For years, we've been talking about ordering your Built bars at Built.com. Now you can get them at your local Walmart or Sam's Club. That's right. Head to your nearest Walmart today, walk to the pharmacy section, and grab yourself a box of Built Bars. You can pick up a 4-bar box of cookies and cream, double chocolate, or coconut puffs. If you're close to Sam's Club, run in and grab a 13-bar box with our hit flavors, brownie batter, and churro. You can thank me later. Thanks for making Locked on Buckeyes your first listen every day. Make sure you check out our brand new podcast, Locked on College Basketball. Everything you need to know about college basketball in one place. Plus, hear from big name experts, insiders, coaches, and players. Locked On College Basketball, available on YouTube and wherever you get your fine podcast. With Stroud leaving, people are going to be appreciating him, showing the love for him. We're going to do that as we close out today's show. But they're also going to be asking themselves, did CJ Stroud exceed expectations as Ohio State's quarterback over the past couple of years? And there is an argument for yes, he did, or no, he did not. You can look at the record. 11-win season. In both years, he was QB1 at Ohio State. Now, granted, there was one game he did not play last year, but the team did win 11 games. So factor that into factor to what you want to. But Stroud thrust into the scene. Road game was his first game playing in the Big Ten. Went on the road to Minnesota. And if it wasn't for an injury to Mo Ibrahim, the running back at Minnesota, that would have been a loss. I don't know what – I'm just being honest with you. I thought Ohio State was going to lose that game during portions of it because they could not tackle. They could not stop Mohamed Ibrahim. That dude is a dog, and I cannot wait to see what he does in the National Football League. So you have that game. There are talks about Stroud possibly being injured in the first few games. Ultimately, I believe he missed the Akron game a year ago. Was it Akron? I want to say it was Akron a year ago. Next thing you know, Stroud comes back, and he's locked in, tuned in, dialed in, ready to go. Ultimately, Stroud last year lost the game to Oregon, lost the game to the team up north. One was at home, one was on the road. And then what also happened? You also have a player in Stroud who goes to the Rose Bowl in his home state and has a monster game. He was locked in with Jackson Smith-Njigba. Let me dial that back a little bit going to Nebraska. And that Nebraska game was huge, not just for Njigba, but for Stroud as well, because there was a lot of confidence that was boosted that I believe he took that into the Rose Bowl with him and Njigba and the other players, not having Olave in that game, but you have Garrett Wilson. No, wait. I believe Garrett Wilson played in that game as well. So ultimately, you have guys out there that, no, man. You're playing with Marvin Harrison Jr. started that game. You're playing with a younger receiver. You're trying to make things work. And ultimately, Stroud rose to the occasion, a Utah team that was bringing it all, brought their heart. Stroud won the Rose Bowl. And I don't care what anybody says about bowl games and all this stuff. The Rose Bowl is still the granddaddy of them all. It's still the most prestigious bowl game in the entire sport, especially for the Big Ten. If you go to the Rose Bowl as a Big Ten representative, that's a big deal, which is why I found it really odd that Ohio State said that if they got invited to the Rose Bowl this year, they were going to decline the invite. That was odd to me. Really, 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 really odd. I don't have to agree with every decision the school makes, especially the football team, and that one was odd. But in this season, Stroud knew all eyes on him. All the eyes. How would he respond? How would he play? Would Ohio State do this? Would they go to the national championship? Would he win the Heisman? All the pressure, everything was on Stroud. And this man played good, man. Plays good ball. Plays really good football during his time period at Ohio State. And during his career, not just the past two seasons. Well, the past two seasons, yes, because in 2020, he got on the field, ran a 50-plus yard touchdown against Michigan State, but ultimately did not throw past that season. So all these numbers I'm about to tell you, these are 2 year numbers for Stroud. And in these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 categories in the career of all quarterbacks at Ohio State, Stroud is either number 1 or number 2. So Stroud over the past 2 years, he has some ups, he has some downs, he has some hiccups, but Stroud rose to the occasion at times, and he threw some of the best, prettiest footballs that I have ever seen a quarterback throw at Ohio State. Yeah, the Justin Fields, a pass from Fields to Olave in the playoff game against Clemson. Yes, that was something I'll marvel about. But Stroud threw some phenomenal passes to Marvin Harrison Jr., a great pass on third down against Tamayan Williams earlier in the season. And I'm not taking anything away from him for not being a running quarterback. I think he was doing what he was coached to be. But Stroud used his legs, and he was allowed to. Buddy, let me tell you, he probably would have won the Heisman this year. But in these 6 categories, CJ Stroud, Ohio State's quarterback over the past couple of years, for his career as an Ohio State quarterback, number 1 among all quarterbacks at Ohio State in passer rating at 182.4. Stroud for his career, number 1 among all Buckeye quarterbacks in their careers in passing yards per game, 324.9 yards per game. He has the most 300-yard passing games among all Buckeye quarterbacks at 15. The rest of these categories, the final 3, number 2 among all quarterbacks in their career, 69.3 completion percentage, 8,123 passing yards, and 85 passing touchdowns. So by the numbers, you might say, Jay, following Justin Fields, following what Fields did, following Fields raising the standard and being a different quarterback than Dwayne Haskins, being a dual threat, more of a dual threat option than Haskins was, you would say, hey, Fields raised the bar, got to a national championship game, made the playoff in both seasons, even in a shortened season, made the playoff there, was a Heisman finalist. Fields did amazing. But here comes Stroud. He had some hiccups, man. He didn't play all the games last year. He had 4 losses in 2 years. He had some weird things on his resume. But what did he do? He rose to the occasion. And if it was it took Stroud playing the best game of his career. The final game of his career was the best game. And he said, hey, if I'm going to go out, I'm going out with a bang. CJ Stroud played his best football. That's why there's an argument to be made by saying, hey, did he exceed expectations? By the numbers, you might say yes. But ultimately, this rings true about Stroud's resume. 4 losses. Can't take them away. 11-2 last year, 11-2 this year. And by CJ Stroud's words, not mine, but his, that's not good enough at Ohio State. That's not my standard. That's not his standard. That's what he said. He expected to be better this year in the win-loss record. It did not happen. Did not win the Big Ten East. Of course, that means you did not win the Big Ten championship. Didn't have a chance to play in that game. Never beat your rival. Never won a national championship. If I take the national championship stuff away and just keep it in this current era of football, and the Big Ten has had a championship game, a conference championship game since, I think, 2012. The first playoff was in 2014. Playoff appearances in 1 of 2 years. Never beat your rival. That goes back 100-plus years. And also never played in the Big Ten conference championship game. So by the numbers, you would say he did exceed expectations. But by not beating Michigan, by never playing in the conference championship game, by never winning the Big Ten East, you would say he did not exceed expectations. Numbers are great, but there are certain games you need to win. Certain games you need to win every single year. Didn't happen. Take the playoff away. That's a newer thing. Take the national championship game away. That's started in 1998. I will be nice. Because I'm a tougher grader. I'm being nice and taking that stuff away. Never won your division. Never won a conference. Never beat your rival. I don't know, man. I would like to say yes. But it's hard to say Stroud didn't. It's hard to say Stroud exceeded expectations with those things right there on his resume. I just say he did. But that's not the way the cookie crumbled. The way the cookie does crumble is with us, myself, showing our appreciation for CJ Stroud as we close out this show. I will have my final thoughts about CJ Stroud, say my final thank yous next right here, and share some of the same thoughts you have about Stroud as he recently declared for the 2023 NFL Draft. Stick around to close out this show, appreciation show for CJ Stroud. This is Locked on Buckeyes. Sports betting is now legal in Ohio, and Locked On has a perfect show to help new and seasoned gamblers. Download and subscribe to Locked On Bets for daily picks and analysis wherever you get your fine podcasts. So I went through a little bit earlier in this show about Stroud, what he went through as a quarterback. Coming in against Minnesota, most quarterbacks at Ohio State don't start their career on the road facing a Big Ten opponent, especially one from the other side of the conference. And so you don't really play Minnesota very much. You don't know them a lot. I think the last year during the thumbnails on the YouTube, I think I went back to like a JT Barrett, Ezekiel Elliott game to get a picture of the Buckeyes and the Golden Gophers playing together. Because I was trying to get pictures. It may not have been back that far. Maybe the Dwayne Haskins, but you get the gist as hey, they have been quite a long time since those two schools had played each other on the field. So I tried to go back and get pictures at that time of those two schools playing for the thumbnail on the YouTube. Thought it was a better touch for the final show for the game or a preview episode for that particular game. And so Stroud comes in, follows Justin Fields. He had 1 year with Justin Fields as quarterback, and he got to learn a lot. Learned a lot from Ryan Day, learned a lot from Corey Dennis, but ultimately got to learn a lot from Justin Fields, how Fields carried himself, how Justin Fields conducted himself in team meetings. And when Fields started to ask questions, Stroud started to see that. He got to see Fields grow. He wasn't there for the entire time of Justin Fields, but he got to see Fields grow as a quarterback, grow as a player, grow as a human, grow as a young man. And ultimately, CJ Stroud did the same thing during his time period. He learned more about the offense. He learned more about himself. He dug deep into himself to play the best football he could ever play while being a quarterback at The Ohio State University. Ultimately, Justin Fields, shortened season in 2020, goes to the national championship game. Stroud got to see all of that. Saw preparation, saw how the team had to handle some abnormal circumstances, which I hope nobody ever has to deal with the uncertainty of the 2020 season. And ultimately, would the game be played? Would a game be canceled? Would a game be played? Would a game be canceled? Many of you know I have worked nights for quite a bit of time over the past. Actually, while I've been hosting a podcast, I believe I've been working nights the entire time. And I remember driving to work one night, looking at my phone, getting a text. I said, "Oh, I pulled over. I needed to pull over, read this really quickly, and make sure I had everything in a row." The game got canceled. I do believe it was like a Thursday leading up to a game on a Saturday. Like Thursday night going into a Saturday, like, oh, the game's canceled. These are the things the team had to deal with, and Stroud got to see how Fields conducted himself in these abnormal circumstances. But Fields' upbringing, which he talks about in his announcement when he announced that he declared for the NFL draft, his upbringing helped him as well conduct himself. This man's received death threats. This man has been the quarterback of one of the best college football teams in the country over the past couple of years. This man has been able to, has endured things that not a lot of people will ever endure in their life. And you know what? You can't say a bad thing about his character. You can't start throwing darts and saying character problems. You can't do that about CJ Stroud. He has been what you want from a quarterback as far as the man, the person, the human being. He has been that at QB1. Learned a lot from Fields, but also a lot from his upbringing, his parents, his family, his surroundings. You've learned a lot from him. How he's handled the adversity, how he's handled the pressure. You learned a lot. And I could talk about the past couple seasons, what Stroud did as a quarterback, how him and Ajigba had a crazy, wild connection, how this year with Marvin Harrison Jr. and Ibuka and the emergence and better play up from a Buckeye tight end in Kate Stover, we got to see Stroud use a lot of weapons. Yeah, he had a connection with Harrison Jr., but Julian Fleming, who he believed in, I heard Stroud out of his own mouth show a belief in Julian Fleming that a lot of people did not have. But ultimately, Stroud kept believing in himself, in his teammates, in his coaches. He knows the work they put in. He knows what they do day in, day out. He knows the type of teammates and players and how good this team can be. Stroud kept working. And as someone who is a fan first before he was a podcaster, a fan first of the Buckeyes before he became the host of this year's podcast, I'm going to say thank you to CJ Stroud for being the Buckeye quarterback and holding the standard high, for keeping the standard high. The standard is the standard. And whoever the next quarterback is at Ohio State, no matter if it's Kyle McCord or Devin Brown, don't think it'll be Lincoln Kienholz, as he is still playing high school athletics right now. I don't think he'll be able to come in the summer and be an option at quarterback going into 2023. Whoever it is, whoever the quarterback is at Ohio State, they had a great example to follow and to watch over the past 2 years for McCord, 1 year for Devin Brown, to see how Stroud conducts himself, how he prepares for games, how he throws the football, how he handles adversity, how he handles successes, how he does all these things. How in the biggest game of the year, CJ Stroud played his heart out, laid it all on the line. Thanks, CJ. This is from me, just a man. This isn't just like a fan or anybody else. A fan of college football, Jay Stevens, right here. Thank you, CJ Stroud, for what you did, not just for the Buckeyes, but for the sport, because you were so much fun to watch every single Saturday. And I can't wait to watch you, young man, play football in the National Football League and spin that rock like you did at Ohio State over the past few years. Thank you, CJ, and thank you for tuning in to this episode of Locked on Buckeyes. Coming up on tomorrow's show, we're going to discuss Lathan Ransom. He recently announced that he's going to stay at Ohio State for another year, and I think this is the right decision. I'll tell you why and dive into it tomorrow right here on Locked on Buckeyes. You can follow me on Twitter at jstevens07. You can send all of your emails to jstevens317 at gmail.com. Thanks for making Locked on Buckeyes your first listen today. For your second listen, check out our brand new podcast, Locked on College Basketball. Experts Isaac Shade and Andy Patton bring you everything you need to know on and off the court. Plus, hear from big-name experts, coaches, and players throughout the basketball landscape. Locked on College Basketball is available on YouTube and wherever you get your fine podcasts.